My name is... From the Fans Talk Podcast family at fanstalkpodcast.com, this is episode 44 of Fans Talk TNA. This week we're going to cover the August 19th, 2000 edition of Impact Wrestling on Destination America, as well as the rest of the news and notes that happened this week. My name is Garvin, and with us is Nick. Say hello, Nick.
I love to dance.
I love to fun. This episode of Fans Talk TNA has been brought to you by our friends over on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, Patreon subscribers get early access to our episodes, as well as bonus content that only they can hear. If you aren't subscribing, give it a go over at patreon.com/fanstalk, and all of those links, as well as the full archive, are over on fanstalktna.com. All right, Nick, so let's go right into what happened this week. Last week when we entered this, I really wasn't sure what was going on, if this was like story-based or if this was just like a one-time only thing or what, as far as the work between GFW and TNA, just because it was so like inconsistent as far as commentary goes, inconsistent as far as what was being said in the ring, and so on and so forth. But this week, it felt like we were actually given a full answer as far as how they're promoting the matches. It was TNA versus GFW. The commentary was about the same, but at least they had some graphics to back up what they were saying as far as these two forces fighting. But overall, did you feel like this week was a little bit better as far as that goes?
Yeah, I think a lot of the inconsistencies got ironed out. I think maybe it helped that there wasn't as many GFW guys around to kind of muddy the waters. But really, the only GFW presence was Jarrett and PJ Black. But yeah, it wasn't about TNA versus GFW. At least not the running theme throughout the show. It was more of a regular Impact with, the overarching background tone of GFW being in the mix.
Right.
So I think that helped things out a lot.
Yeah, so as far as the major stories that were pushed, it was primarily the EC3 versus PJ Black match. Basically, it was your GFW's top champion versus TNA's top champion for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. The night went back and forth as far as whether or not EC3 wanted to partake in it. Obviously, he was very anti this match. Went to Dixie. Jarrett went to Dixie, trying to convince her to back them up. But she obliges, or totally agrees with Jeff Jarrett, and PJ Black versus EC3 did go on, and it did. It was for the title. So overall, the way that they told this story and this match in general, to me, this was the whole show for me, because you had basically the match of the night, I felt, and the major story that was carried throughout. What about you?
Yeah, I feel very much the same. And we got a great match out of it. I'm not necessarily a fan of the way that commentary is casting EC3, namely as TNA's champion, when he's really not. They're talking about how, he's right. He shouldn't have this match. He shouldn't be defending the title against a guy from outside the company. But that's not EC3's motivation at all. And the fact that neither of them called him out on that kind of bugs me. Just completely ignoring the obvious that way. I don't know. I didn't like that aspect of it.
Yeah, there were some issues with it, but I'm willing to ignore them for now, just because I really feel like this was EC3's first match that he could show what he could do with a guy at his level. He was fantastic in the ring. The match itself was very good. PJ Black, I was excited to finally see him in a singles match, and just the way that they both interacted, I thought was really good. So yeah, by far this was my match tonight, but I really think that this was EC3's best match.
Yeah, probably.
Two other stories that were happening, well, really three, that surrounded this whole GFW versus TNA thing. Bobby Roode last week felt disrespected by Jarrett. This week he wanted answers and got disrespected again, basically. So obviously they're leading to something probably, I don't know. To me, it seems like if they continue to go this route, which it seems they are, we're going to get a team GFW versus a team TNA for something big, maybe control over the company, or maybe control over this Destination America time slot or something. But definitely Bobby Roode wants an opportunity to showcase himself and is not getting that. So, outside of that, we also had Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy still wants, EC3 still wants to go after the title. So we saw Hardy defeating Tyrus. And then you also have EY. EY basically wanting it known that he calls the shots, that he is the guy that takes whatever he wants, and that no one else can stop him, and no one else knows what's best for the company or anything like that. So before we get into the full EY bit, let's talk about the beef with Roode versus Jarrett D. Where do you see this going?
I think that's sort of a long game for this angle, is that Roode is ultimately going to be revealed as the guy that's been taking people out. Bully disrespected him. He threatened his livelihood, so Roode takes him out. He wants a spot in the King of the Mountain match, and Jarrett doesn't put him in there, so he takes out Galloway. And now Jarrett won't even give him the time of day. I'm a little surprised that there wasn't another attack, but maybe, I don't know, TNA could want to avoid giving away too much. Maybe they want to stretch this out some. But I am liking it. I am liking the idea that, Roode is, if only tangentially, involved in this storyline. The top storyline. And you gotta think that he's gonna put up with being ignored for only so long before he does something drastic. What that could be, whether he reassumes top heel role, or maybe this is a bid to try and turn him back face. I don't know, but it should be very interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The whole Roode is probably the guy behind the taking out Bully, taking out Drew last week. I really didn't think about that, because to me, like, the obvious attacker was Jeff Jarrett. Because to me, it really does seem like he's trying that. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. This whole thing it does not make sense to me that Jeff Jarrett is basically in charge of Impact 2 weeks in a row, now 3 weeks in a row. As we saw at the end of this event, he basically asked Dixie for weekly control over Impact moving forward. She's going to give him she is going to give her answer to him next week. But to me, that's where I felt like the story was going, was that it was really Jeff Jarrett just putting the pieces together so that he could take control again.
Yeah, I definitely see that, especially with Bully being the first target. The spot where that idea went off the rails for me is when Galloway got jumped. Maybe if he'd been replaced by another GFW guy, I could see that, but he got replaced by Robbie E, so...
but Robbie E is a huge step down in the grand scheme of things to Drew Galloway. Drew Galloway is a guy that could have won that match. With Drew Galloway not there, it left an opening for PJ Black.
Yeah, but of the three guys, Galloway, EY, and Lashley, Galloway's the guy you go after? Not Lashley?
Well, sure. I guess I could see that, but it was kind of stacking the deck against GFW guys.
Yeah.
So you eliminate one piece of that, and it's a fair fight overall. So, anyways, that's how I was looking at it, but I definitely do see how Bobby Roode could fit in there, and I like that as well. So, all right, EY. EY basically was saying that, tonight he was going to change someone's life forever. So Chris Melendez comes down, and yeah, he's lost every match that he's ever been in against EY, but he's not backing down. He's still there. So, long story short, EY challenges him to a match where his leg is on the line. So, Chris Melendez may or may not, probably will lose his leg next week. Thoughts?
I like that EY put that stipulation in there. That he's basically taken everything away from Melendez, and now he's going to take his leg. That's a great heel move. I'm really ready for this storyline to be done. It hasn't done Melendez any favors. A little more mic time, maybe, which doesn't hurt, but I'd really rather they put something together where Melendez could look good. And he hasn't yet. So, I don't know. I am fully expecting EY to walk away with the win and the leg. Yeah. I'm just not looking forward to it all that much.
No, and what happens then? Like, what's that next step? Melendez loses his leg, and then now he's only on one leg? Or is he done? Or I just...
It makes me think that Anderson is going to step up and go after EY now that he's done with Bram, which, I don't know. Anderson versus EY should be good on the mic, but I think I've had a little too much Anderson recently. Like, this feud with Bram, I don't know, it's been okay, but fighting for a mic, that's kind of low stakes and weak sauce.
Open mic challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was odd because I felt like the way it was talked about was that the person who... It's always like this, you know, whether it's something on a pole or whatever, but it's like the person who gets the weapon can use it. There's nothing ever said about the person who doesn't, but the person who doesn't is always the first one to use it.
Yeah, I've always looked at that as once the weapon is brought down, it's in play for everybody. I know that kind of goes against the spirit of the rules, but nobody ever obeys that rule anyway, so...
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But okay. But yeah, I'm with you. Bram versus Anderson. Anderson wins, and yeah, I'm not really feeling this, mostly because I don't see what Bram is getting out of it. It's like they build up Bram as this dangerous guy, and then he loses a lot of big matches, and big matches that involve some kind of hardcore stipulation. So, we did see Drew Galloway versus Eli Drake. What did you think about this match?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I'm looking at this as the end of the match, or the end of the feud, rather. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I would have liked to see something more from Eli Drake. Mainly because I am a fan of his gimmick, and I really want to see him do well. Yeah, I don't know. It's just everything he's given us has been good, but you know he's not really on the level of a Galloway. So, it just feels like, I don't know. It feels like a waste.
I'm with you. I really like Eli Drake. I feel like that guy has a definite future, whether that's TNA or in the wrestling business in general. He's great on the mic. He's a very good wrestler. Doesn't quite have the look. I mean, there's just something about him that kind of makes him like default wrestling guy kind of feel. Like your default character generator type thing. But overall, I think he's got a good spot here. With this loss, it doesn't necessarily set him back, but yeah, you kind of do expect Drew to move on and go back and fight for the top title, or whatever else he's going to do next. And yeah, where does that leave Eli Drake? So on one hand, I'm ready for them to split and go their own ways, but at the same time, like, where does that leave Eli?
If we do get Anderson versus EY, I think I kind of want Eli Drake to team up with EY and just have those two teams go at it for a little bit. Give everybody something to do.
That's a good idea. That's a good thought.
Also, that harness is sweet, bro.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Yeah, I didn't know what to call that. But there was like this weird He-Man almost like thing on his chest, and I don't know.
He did call himself the Master of Eternia to Pope, so
yeah.
I'm not sure if that is from He-Man or not, but
no, it's just that style. It's like the weird vest that is just really thin strap. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But all right, the only other thing, like major thing that I took away from this week's episode was the whole Gail Kim versus the Dollhouse. Gail Kim won that steel cage match, which I didn't like. Well, it's not necessarily that she won, but that she won looking so absolutely strong over the Dollhouse. Like, this once again is TNA failing to really book a stable well.
Yeah, I do think they managed to make Jade look somewhat decent. Like the power move where she's holding Gail up and slamming her into the wall.
Sure.
Usually they reserve that for the bigger ladies like Kong or Lady Tapa. But yeah, I really wish Gail had gone for the escape victory, because it makes it look like, she realizes that 2-on-1 is just too much. But the fact that she was up there, and then she looks to the crowd, and, they want the fight to keep on going, so she jumps down and basically super scene is her way to victory. Yeah, it's just a disappointment. Silver lining, I'm glad Marty took the pin rather than Jade, because I don't really think Marty's going anywhere, sadly. But, yeah. Overall, it was a good match. It's just, I'm with you. I wish it had just been booked better for everybody involved.
Yeah. No, it was a good match. It was a good cage match. Little disappointed that once again they didn't go with the finish where Gail would have escaped. I think that would have told a better story. This just made the Dollhouse continue to look super weak. And yeah, so that's a disappointment. The other thing that I thought was really strange with this was that, after the match, we had like 3 different backstage segments where Gail Kim is chasing after Taryn Terrell. Taryn Terrell gets stopped by Velvet Sky, who is back in her normal wrestling gear, not her tattered and torn jean look thing that she had going on for a little while. But then, yeah, they basically trapped Taryn. They chained Taryn's arm to some kind of like scaffolding or something, and Gail is like, eye for an eye, you broke my pinky, and it looked like she was going to break her arm. And then we didn't get to see the rest of the segment. But it made it, I don't know how I feel about that, because not that it necessarily goes against Gail's character to do something like that, but it goes against, it makes Taryn Terrell someone that I have empathy for.
Yeah, and you really shouldn't, just given all the shit that she's put Gail through. I get the move. I like the idea of Gail finally getting revenge so she can, stop fixating on the Dollhouse.
Right.
But the biggest issue I have is, why is Velvet here?
Yeah. That's my biggest issue with any time Velvet's there.
Well, I like the fact that, Velvet's back and she's going to be competing, but why does she care about this? She hasn't cared at all about it the whole time the Dollhouse has been here, and she's been here. She's just wanted to beat up on Madison and Angelina Love.
Right.
And I was expecting Velvet to get involved in the Dollhouse fight at some point, but if they were going to have her intersect with this at all, it really should have come a lot sooner, not at the very tail end, the apparent tail end, and just have her basically point and laugh at Taryn's misfortune. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like how they've booked the Dollhouse. I don't like how they've booked Velvet Sky. But for Velvet to completely like have a 180 on like how her character was portrayed in that feud with with Angelina Love to now. I mean, again, she was in her normal ring gear. She had her normal look overall from like the last time that she was here. Not this renegade biker style get up that she had going. It's just odd that they went back, like they reverted back to that, losing all the momentum that potentially had, from the Angelina Love story.
I don't think that's entirely the case. Just what she was saying, that's very much in line with the persona that she brought back. Not necessarily the stone face, but the idea that you get what's coming to you. That was very much her approach to Angelina and Madison for basically trying to block her out of Impact. So, I don't know why they abandoned the look the way they did, but I think she's still retaining some of that persona.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out. Still time. Hopefully next week we'll get it. Really no major news this week, but that was Impact. That was Impact in pretty much its entirety. So let's go into win-fail. Nick, what was your win of the week?
Yeah, we can overlook Shara and the whole Revolution angle.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
That actually is my win of the week, is that we got to see Shara expand on his character a little bit. I think it's sad that it's going to get comparisons to Khali and how all he does is dance and all that nonsense. But, I like the fact that he's not just some implacable monster. He's human. He's got a lighthearted side, but he's ready to throw down if somebody's disrespecting him the way that Storm does. And I also like the fact that we're getting the tease of a split right down the middle with Revolution, with Manic eventually teaming up with Shara.
Yeah.
And it absolutely makes sense. Manic was the guy that brought Shara into the Revolution, partnered up with him, buddied up with him, kind of took him under his wing, and now Shara is kind of, at least if they continue the way I think they're going, it looks like Shara is going to give Manic an out. So we'll see Manic and Shara against Storm and Abyss, which Storm and Abyss is still the dumbest tag team, but hey.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did forget that it was nice to see the character development. Yeah, that does make him appear more realistically human and not like Abyss or Manic at this point where they're just quiet drones. At the same time, it was lame, and I don't want to suggest he's anything like Khali as far as how they're going to do his character. But, yeah, I don't need to see him dancing to know that he's a regular guy that likes to fun. Okay. Anyways, my win is going to go to Eli Drake. Again, I really like this guy. I think he can go far in this company. And, I think eventually if they keep allowing him the mic time and allowing him a good match, like against Drew Galloway, if they keep doing stuff like that with him, he could easily be competing against EC3 by mid-next year, I think. I think he's that good.
I could see that.
Fails. What was your fail of the week?
I'm going to put my fail on Velvet Sky, which is unfair because it's really uncreative, and just the fact that they threw Velvet in there with absolutely no reason, just you get what's coming to you, and then, she blocks out the camera, so you don't need to see this. Which, yeah, I really didn't, just given the fact that Gail promised something brutal, but, yeah, it was just poorly booked, I think.
Yeah, my fail is, honestly, I don't really have a fail, just because I guess my fail is that I don't understand necessarily where they're going with things, especially with this GFW versus TNA thing. But maybe that's a good thing at the same time, because they have kind of blurred those lines between reality and the TV show. But I don't know, it just feels off. Commentary still felt inconsistent. I think they did a little better job at really telling that story that this was GFW versus TNA, and they made that like a reality, but it still feels off to me. Like there's something wrong with this picture.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really going to be the case until we get to the ultimate payoff, whether we find out is it an invasion or not.
Yeah. All right. Next week we have Brooke versus Velvet for the Knockouts Championship. The Wolves versus the Revolution, Abyss and Manic for the Tag Team Championships, and Tigre Uno versus DJZ versus Sanjay Dutt for the X Division Championship. So another week that we get multiple title matches. Real quick thought or question for you: are you okay with there basically being a title match every single week?
I'm not opposed to it. I like the concept. I want there to be a solid reason for it. And there's really not for putting all three titles on the line. Just kind of space that out a little bit. You know, we had to have the world title defended this week, so, you know, we haven't seen much of the Wolves. Have them defend the tag titles next week. We haven't seen too much of Tigre Uno in recent weeks. So have him defend it next week. And so on and so forth. Just throwing them all together in one night seems, it's basically blowing your load.
Yeah, and I can't recall exactly. I mean, I'm not looking at last week's show or at least the card or any other week's card, but it seems like anytime the Wolves are on TV, they're defending the titles. Anytime Tigre Uno is in a match, he's defending the title. Otherwise, they're not on TV at all. And that kind of bothers me. I want them to be involved in more things, even if it's just backstage segments or, you know, sitting at ringside doing commentary. Well, not ringside, but backstage doing commentary. Like, stuff to show that they're actually interested in the in the competition that's on TV for their titles. It's just that we're not getting that competition. Yeah,
when you put that out there, that there is no competition, there's really no reason for the Wolves to be around. And, you know, I kind of have a beef with the way they set up this tag team title match just out of nowhere. The Revolution hasn't done anything to earn that. The Revolution hasn't done anything outside of Storm picking his own personal fight with Magnus. So, again, I'm glad that we are getting tag team action. I'm glad that the title is being defended. It's just, put some thought into it. Like Tigre Uno versus Sanjay Dutt. You know, there's a reason for that. Sanjay Dutt doesn't like Tigre Uno. He tried to take his mask. So, you know, there's some story to that. And throwing DJZ in there is just some icing on the cake. It's going to be a good match. But, yeah, I don't like title matches with no thought put into them.
Right. And to me, that's what we're getting with the X Division and the Tag Team Division right now. So, all right, well, I think that's pretty much it. Do you have any final thoughts before we head out?
Nope.
Okay, cool. That's all the time that we have for this edition of Fans Talk TNA, but the conversation does not have to stop here. You can join us over on YouTube as we continue the conversation with you. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and Instagram. All of those links are available on fanstalktna.com. We'll see you guys next week. Later.